Hey guys, welcome back to Through the Screen. I'm Erika.
I'm Charlotte.
I'm Emily.
We hope you guys have been enjoying our episodes so far, liking, commenting, and sharing with your friends. If you missed any of them, head on over to our channel and watch, and if you're not already, be sure to subscribe while you're there. This week we'll be discussing an update on a very important, heartbreaking animal issue, so we hope you'll follow us once again as we join together via Skype to bring you conversations through the screen.
This episode we will be discussing the latest on the Montreal Pitbull Ban, as well as our thoughts on the bill and how you can help. We will also be bringing you the latest Taiji updates, a heartwarming story about an ostrich that thinks she's part of a rescued elephant herd, and finally sharing our thoughts on this week's episode of Dancing with the Stars. First up, Montreal Pitbull Ban.
So, as most of you remember, we discussed the stigma of pit bulls and why people are ultimately the problem a few months back in episode 31. This week, we wanted to return to this topic and discuss the tragic pit bull ban that was passed in Montreal just a couple weeks ago, and what's going on now. So, the ban, which was passed on September 27th and very briefly put into effect on October 3rd, was suggested because of the mauling last June in Pointe-aux-Tremblay, which left a 55-year-old woman dead. While the dog was deemed to be a pit bull, a check of the owner's registration papers indicated that the dog was actually a boxer. The pit bull ban covered a wide range of dog breeds, including American Staffordshire Terriers, Staffordshire Bull Terriers, American Pit Bull Terriers, or any mix of these breeds, and was blamed by critics as being too vague on the types of dogs no longer allowed. This also isn't the first ban of its kind. Both Winnipeg and Ontario have had similar laws in the past, enacting these so-called breed-specific legislations, or BSLs. This particular ban put hundreds of dogs in shelters, as well as those considered part of the family in danger, and just this past week the ban was temporarily suspended. However, their fight isn't yet over, so we just wanted to talk more about the ban, why it was suspended, and what you can do to end it permanently and save the lives of hundreds of dogs.
So, City Council decided to put a ban on pit bulls in Montreal, which, of course, caused an outrage. As Emily mentioned, many were taken from their owners and put into shelters, as well as many euthanized. Basically, City Council signed a death warrant for thousands of dogs in Montreal. Legislators voted in 37 to 24 on a breed-specific legislation to basically put down any dog that resembled a pit bull unless owners meet a strict set of conditions. Under this ban, by March of 2017, all dogs fitting the listed breeds would have to be microchipped, sterilized, vaccinated, kept on a short leash with a muzzle. And their owners would also be required to undergo a criminal background check. Pit bulls that are currently in shelters do not apply, but no dog considered a pit bull would be allowed to be adopted from Montreal shelters. The pit bulls that are still in shelters and without an owner on the day of passing the legislation will then be euthanized if there is no longer room for them. SPCA takes about 2,000 dogs in shelters every year, and only a third of the dogs are pit bulls, so about 700. The way the legislation is drafted, they won't be allowed to be adopted. Many of the staff, as well as animal lovers and opposers of the bill, have worked effortlessly to relocate dozens of pit bulls from shelters to other areas outside of Montreal to avoid the strict conditions. However, those that unfortunately were affected by the bill have really struggled with their loss of their pets, who they consider family members. I saw an article online about a man that had committed suicide due to his dog being euthanized. And my friend had posted kind of like a personal story about dogs not just being dogs, but they're often used as comfort for like mental health and stuff. And some people, I feel like many mental health dogs out there to simply just comfort. Like for her circumstances, she had lost her dad and her, I think one of her grandparents, and she has dogs now for comfort and just to be there. And I guess this man, like these people are losing their whole life, and it's different than being euthanized and passing during its time. So that's really sad. But luckily on Wednesday, due to a public outrage and protests across the country and beyond, a judge decided that the ban should be suspended while Montreal SPCA fights this legal battle. This is a small victory, however there could be months of legal proceedings ahead as opposers of the ban attempt to have it outlawed in all 19 boroughs of Montreal.
So, as both Emily and Erika mentioned, there is still a lot of work to do to save Montreal's pit bulls from this heartbreaking legislation. We will link an article down below which talks a little bit more about the suspension and lists some things that you can do to help, including donating to Montreal's SPCA to care for and relocate all the dogs that have basically been given a death sentence, as well as a link to sign a petition entitled My Montreal Includes All Dogs, which already has over 300,000 signatures. As always, please share this information on social media and with those you know so that we can hopefully get Montreal City Council and those in charge to realize once again that pit bulls aren't the problem, people are.
These past 2 weeks in Taiji, we've seen almost all blue cove days. However, on October 4th, Japan time, a pod of 15 rhesus dolphins were slaughtered in the cove. As always, we remind you to check out the live streams below, as well as share what's happening in Taiji on social media and with those you know. We also want to share some good news with you all. It has recently been announced that TripAdvisor, one of the largest travel websites in the world, will no longer sell tickets to certain captive wild animal attractions, including swim with dolphin programs, elephant rides, and petting zoos containing endangered species. This policy will be fully implemented with TripAdvisor and its booking service Viator in early 2017. We would like to thank TripAdvisor and encourage you all to do the same, and we will of course link the article below for you to read and share.
This week's heartwarming story is about an ostrich named P that enjoys snuggling orphaned elephants and even considers herself part of the herd. The story begins with an orphaned calf named Jodo, who was only 1 month old when he was separated from his family after falling down a well. Rescuers from the David Sheldrake Wildlife Trust pulled Jodo out and took him to an elephant orphanage in Kenya. When Jodo arrived at the facility, he had no idea he would form such a special bond. And with an ostrich named P. P was rescued in October of 2014 with her brother Pod on a mission to save a baby elephant. The ostriches were taken to the elephant nursery to grow up together, and while Pod has since flown the coop, P has stayed, making rescuers believe she considers herself an elephant as well. P has bonded with elephants like Jodo and is more than happy to cuddle next to him. All the elephants will eventually be released back into the wild when they are ready, but until then, they enjoy the company of their feathered friend. So we hope you all enjoyed this week's heartwarming story, and we will of course put the link down below so you can share.
So this week we're going to be talking about 2 weeks worth of Dancing with the Stars. So last week our pairs tackled Cirque du Soleil themed ballroom routines, and there was plenty of flair to go around. We saw our first perfect score of the season, which of course went to Lori and Val, and unfortunately on last Tuesday night we lost Babyface and Allison and Vanilla Ice and Whitney to a double elimination. We also saw the live TV engagement of Sasha and Emma, which was a real treat, as well as some showcases of our favorite professional dancers. This week, our stars talked about their most memorable year, and there were a few tearjerkers, of course. And let's start, I guess, with Calvin and Lindsay. What did you guys think?
So for the first week, in the third week, Lindsay and Calvin did the Charleston. And while I'm not normally a huge fan of the dance of the Charleston, just because it's very similar to jive for me, it has its like own quirky sense of dancing. But this performance was like very fun, energetic, and they nailed every step. So I was pretty impressed by it.
Calvin and Lindsay once again. I love the dance, and the dance seemed like a lot of fun, and the moves were amazing. I was watching, and I was like, half the stuff that they were doing, if I did it, I would end up paralyzed.
So I enjoyed Calvin and Lindsay in the Cirque du Soleil week. I think it was a really fun routine, and I feel like he's really light on his feet, which is surprising for someone of his height and stature. So it's really fun to see. And I think he's definitely one of my favorites in this year's competition. And I also felt the same way about him this week as well. I thought he was also very light on his feet. I wasn't really sure about their song choice, but I think he's really such an entertainer and he has so much fun with it. So I enjoyed this week's as well. They did a jazz routine.
Yeah, for me, this week was most memorable week. So Calvin's most memorable year was 2012, and it was the year where he became part of like an elite American football athlete by breaking Jerry Rice's all-time receiving in yards record. So it kind of like put him, up there with a big name, big legend in football. And after he broke the record, he then handed the ball to his father. So for this week's dance, it was really about like this like monumental moment in his life and his personal career, but it was also about sharing it with his family and experiencing things with his family. And I, of course, am a huge fan of jazz. Like, anytime there's jazz on the show, it's usually my favorite dance of the week. This one wasn't my favorite, but it was definitely, like, my second favorite. There's only one that beats it, for this week. But, I really enjoyed all of it, and then, he throws the ball to Jerry Rice at the very end, and you find out that, like, wasn't, like, planned at all, well, it was planned, but without his knowledge, so it's kind of, like, pretty cool to see that. Mm-hmm. So, I really liked this week's.
I found that this week's was really cute. Just watching the dance, I don't know, just thought it was really cute. They're really cute. They have chemistry.
She says that about everyone that she likes.
Calvin and Lindsay, I'm definitely a fan of, though, and definitely rooting for their dances and stuff.
So next we have Maureen and Artem. So their first week they did an Argentine tango. So what did we think of that?
I was worried personally when I first saw the package for this dance because they had like a really big disconnect. But the performance was anything but disappointing. We definitely saw a lot more steps of movement by Maureen, which is something that we've been kind of looking for each week. We've been kind of like, well, she needs to, do more steps. It can't be Artem doing everything. So I was kind of glad to see that.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was cool, but that's it. Like, that's all.
Not a fan, I'm sure. I think that they did well, but I felt like the dance was a little bit slow, but again, that's kind of the theme, goes with the theme of Argentine tango. But I will give a critique of the week. Like, I know that it was Cirque du Soleil, and it's all about, like, flair and, like, all these, like, acrobatic tricks and everything like that. But the dancers that were doing flips during their routine were very distracting to me because I just kept watching them instead of the dance, and I was just like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be watching this dance right now. And that happened a lot during the episode. I felt like there was a lot of really distracting things going on. So I think that kind of took away from a lot of the dancers, but Other than that, I think they did well. Maureen and Artem definitely aren't one of my favorites, but yeah. So for this week, they did a foxtrot, and Maureen's most memorable year was 1985, and it was kind of a dance dedicated to her husband. So, what did you guys think of that one?
Well, she kind of like explained, well, a lot of people already know this about her, but she, used to do a lot of drugs back, when she was young and, living out her life right after the Brady Bunch. And she talks about how she was hanging out with the wrong people, and then she met her husband, and her husband kind of, helped save her life and change her life. So that's what this dance meant to her and who it was dedicated to, as Em said. So she did the foxtrot. So I thought that while she's been improving each week, there were still moments where I saw her too much in her head. I think I even saw her mouth sorry at one point to Artem in the middle of the dance. When she did that spin part that went on for a little bit too long. It was kind of like a beat or two longer than it should have been. So I was like, I think she missed a step there, and they just did that to cover it up. But I don't know for sure. They didn't really say that. But I thought she definitely was in touch with the emotion of the dance, and maybe that might have been why she was so in her head. So that's my critique for this week.
So I loved Maureen's dress this week. I thought it was gorgeous. I thought the dance was really beautiful and that it flowed well. But I mean, I agree with Charlotte. I do think that she is a little bit too in her head with the dances. And it actually made me sad because Carrie Ann called her a slow learner. And I know she didn't mean it that way, but I was just like, oh, that did not.
Yeah, I did
that
too.
sounded
I felt
horrible.
Like that too. I was like, oh.
Yeah, that just sounded awful. I just think the judges need to be a little more careful about their choice in words. But yeah, that's what I thought. So to Jenna and Gleb, last week they did a foxtrot to a number from the Beatles' Love. So what were our thoughts on that?
For me, I thought this dance was very poetic. It had a lot of great choreography as well as showcased her really wonderful lines that she does with her arms and her legs. She had some really great footwork as well. But for me, it wasn't really a traditional foxtrot. But again, everything fit with the theme and the beat of the song, so it worked in the end. But I also have to take into credit that it was Cirque du Soleil week, so that kind of threw off the themes of some of these dances because of the overall theme of the show for that week.
So I honestly loved everything about it, especially the song choice.
So I absolutely loved the song that they did. I love the Beatles. So I thought that it flowed really well and that they had a really great connection to each other. I think what they said in their package was really nice, that I'm dancing for you and you're dancing for me. I think that was really nice to hear, that they're really on each other's team and everything like that. So that was really nice to hear. And then this week they did a contemporary routine, and Jana's most memorable year was 2016 when she had her daughter. And I think it was extremely beautiful and emotional, and I really loved it. What about you, Charlotte?
I basically cried the entire dance. I'm not even gonna lie. I texted them and I was like, guys, I'm a mess. I can't even see the TV anymore. That's how much I'm crying. I was a blubbering mess. It was beautiful. I mean, especially when combined with her backstory of being in the abusive relationship for 10 years and just getting, put down all the time and treated like crap, and then finally, deciding that she wanted a better life for herself, and then, she meets her husband and they get married and then, have a baby, and now she's getting divorced again, and it's kind of very, she's just kind of explaining how this dance kind of, is just about how her daughter, no matter what, her daughter changed everything. She fixed the broken in her, basically, is how she describes it. And it was just really, really beautiful. And like I said, I was a blubbering mess.
Yeah, I loved it. So next we have Mary Lou and Derek, and last week they did a Paso Doble. So what do we feel about that?
For me, there wasn't really much I liked about this production. But she does nail every step. That's the problem. Like, the overall theme took away from the paso. So this, like, for example, this dance, like Emily pointed out, there was acrobats in the background, and those were very distracting. Mm-hmm. In this dance, they were very distracting, and I could not really pay attention to Mary Lou and Derek, and finally, I just was not a fan of the overall, performance. But everything I saw, she nailed, so I can't really fault her for it.
Yeah.
I couldn't take the dance seriously. I laughed. And I mean, that's really mean of me to say, but I was laughing because I couldn't take it seriously. And I think it was the theme and not the dance because I was just so distracted.
Yeah. I mean, I liked the routine. I thought the routine was kind of cool. And I feel like she had a strong start, but I feel like as the dance went on, she kind of lost energy. And so it faltered for me a little bit by the end of it. So, I don't know. Again, she's also not one of my favorites this season. And then, so this week they did a Viennese waltz, and her most memorable year was 1978. Which I think is the farthest back of all of our stars.
Yeah. Well, she chose this year because it was the year she landed her first TV show, and it was also the year she lost her mother. Mm. So for her, it's kind of like a bittersweet culmination of the two because her mother always, she told her that she could be everything she wanted to be, backed her and was her biggest supporter. And then she explains that her mom, kind of was a victim to rheumatoid arthritis, and back then it kind of just took your whole body. You didn't really have a choice or an option, or, so she kind of had to watch her mom, go through that. And her mom also was a dancer, so it's another inspiration for her why she did the show. For the dance, it really showed her going through the fluidity of the music, whereas opposed to last week, it was just, a hot mess. And it was really just, about her and Derek on the floor this week, and that's what I really liked. And it was, it showcased her ability overall, and it was just really, really done, really beautifully done.
Yeah, I liked this week's better than last week. I thought it was beautiful, and it was a great routine. I think Derek definitely puts together great routines. It just doesn't always come across very well, but I think this week that they did well. So next we have Amber and Max, and last week they did an Argentine tango. So, and there was also a little bit of drama, I guess you could say, between Amber and Julianne. So what were our thoughts on all of this?
Yeah, so I'm going to start with that. I think that she misunderstood what Julianne was saying. She took what Julianne was saying as body shaming, and what Julianne was trying to tell her was a better way to do it. It wasn't like she was trying to tell her that she can't do it with that body, I guess. Mm. But her dance last week was not salsa, it was hip-hop. That's what she meant by being uncomfortable with the dance. Mm. Now for this dance, I liked this dance. It was everything Argentine tango should be. It was very sultry and sexy, and I could have done without the lingerie. But what I have seen online about the Cirque show, it fit like the Cirque show, especially that show's overall theme.
I have nothing good to say. I was basically screaming.
Erika doesn't like sensual things.
Every second of the dance. Honestly, I didn't even finish the dance because it pissed me off so much. I hated it.
Yeah, if you don't want to see sexual, just go to Erika. She'll tell you how she really feels about it.
Except that one dance, Calvin and Lindsay, I liked that a couple weeks ago, and I was like, that's a little pushing it, but I loved it.
She has her standards. No, but I mean, it was very sexual. I actually thought it was boring, to be honest. I actually got bored. I think it was okay, and I think she had her attitude was good. She was in the character, I think, but the dance itself I wasn't a fan of. I just honestly got bored of it. But she spiced it up a little bit this week. She did a samba, and her most memorable year was 2013. So how do we feel about this one?
Well, she chose 2013 because it was the year she had her son, and she credits her son to making her stronger, and she wants him to view her as like a superwoman. So on this dance, she hit every move, but for me personally, I did not hear this come out of the judges' mouths once, but for me personally, she did not have the samba bounce. I did not see it very well, so I critiqued that. That's how I felt. But she did nail all the dances, so, I mean, all the steps, so I can't fault her on that. And it was a little bit better than last week's.
I actually, I was a really big fan of the set and the outfits. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. But just civil, because last week I was like, I want her to go home. And then after seeing well, actually not last week, but last week's episode, I guess, on Through the Screen, I said that. And then this episode, I'm like, I hate that dance. And then this episode, I'm like, okay. But still, no.
So I actually felt like this is one of Amber's best dances. I also liked the outfit. I think it was really cute. At first I wasn't sure about the tutu on the back, but then it kind of grew on me a little bit, but I loved the sequins all on the base of the outfit. But I think it was one of her best dances, honestly. I don't think there was enough sharpness to it, and I think that's kind of the theme of a lot of her dances. I think she's just too much in her head, and I think she just needs to let go and get into the dance more. But I think it was one of her best, even though it didn't have quite enough sharpness for me. So next we have Ryan and Cheryl, and last week they did a Viennese waltz. So how do we feel about that?
So for me, I felt like in this dance, he was a little too in his head. He showed a lot of grace and magnificent lines, but still not capturing the character behind the dance, and I didn't know if, like, in the middle of the dance, like, something kind of happened during the live show. I heard, like, something going on. There was kind of, like, a little commotion, and I thought if it was, like, protesters again, but they never, like, showed anything or did anything about it, so I just let it go. But I did write that in my notes I did, like, hear something like that, and I don't remember ever seeing anything about it.
I thought this dance was beautiful, and their outfits really reminded me of orcas, and I loved it. I just thought they were like swimming orcas free in the ocean. I thought it was beautiful.
That was a very nice. That was a very nice portrayal, Erika. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I also thought that the dance was really beautiful. I wasn't a huge fan of the outfits. I thought it was a little bit strange. I don't know, the way they came together, but I think it was a very beautiful dance. And then this week, of course, they did a contemporary, and his most memorable year was 2008, of course, because of the Olympics. So how do we feel about that?
He chose this year because, as Emily said, it was the Olympics, and he won the gold medal, and he also became the world record holder for the event that he won the gold medal in, and he was shocked for that to happen because he wasn't, achieving or striving for that goal at that moment in time. So that was, a big thing for him. And I felt like in the dance, he had lots of improvement, but it lacked the raw emotion that Janice had, which was the dance prior to it, which for me, like I said, I was a blubbering mess during that performance. There was so much emotion to it. There was just, so much poured into it. So for me, he fell a tad short because of that. But I definitely saw improvement.
I wasn't really a fan of this week's, and I was kind of really disappointed. But I don't hate him. I'm still rooting for him and Cheryl, but I was kind of let down this week, and I was like, dang it, because we were on like a good Ryan and Cheryl streak. I'm pretty sure, like every week, I was like, yes, 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 and I was like, no, but oh well. You have your weeks, right?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, Ryan is growing on me. I wasn't a huge fan of his dancing at the beginning, but he's starting to grow on me a little bit. My issue was more of the routine this week. I actually felt like it seemed to be more about his struggle, like in this past Olympics, than his victory in 2008. Because it seemed like the dance seemed like more of a struggle than something that represented a victory. So that was my critique on it, but I still feel like he's doing well in this competition overall. So next we have Tara and Sasha, and last week they did a samba. So how do we feel about their dance?
Okay, for me, I don't want to sound like I'm taking anything away from Tara, because when I first saw Samba, and I was like, I just don't know how she's going to be able to do this, because it is a very specific dance in its choreography. It's very specific, like I just critiqued somebody else for in the Samba bounce. So I was like really nervous at first. But once the music started and she started dancing, I was like, she did it. Like, it was perfect. I loved the energy. I loved everything about it. My only issue was towards the end. She started to lose the energy. So I would, critique that overall, basically, but really fantastic performance.
I did not like anything about their dance, and the music and the outfits literally had me cringing.
Erika's a harsh critic. I agree exactly with Charlotte. I really liked it, except for the ending. I stopped. I was just like, oh no, no, no. But there was a part with I think it was with like the arms or something that they were doing, and I didn't think it looked good or something. But I don't know. I just remember that I didn't like the ending as much as the beginning of it. So this week they did a contemporary routine, and of course her most memorable year was 2013, and it was very emotional. I think so. What did you guys think?
Yeah, she chose this year because it was the year her father passed, and unfortunately, the story behind how her father passed is kind of very sad and tragic. He went in for a liver transplant, and like a day before the day he was supposed to be sent home from the hospital, he actually had a heart attack and died. So it's like, very shocking for her, and she was supposed to be there, but he told her not to be there, and she was still, working and on the road, and she kind of felt guilty for that. So this dance was kind of like a tribute to him, and for me, I just feel like she really dances in a class of her own, just like Carrie Ann said. And she really inspires me each week, just because, I always think, how is she going to do this? How is she going to do that? And, she never, ever questions that stuff. She always does it, and she does it just as good as anybody else. So I really, really loved this week's dance.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was really beautiful. Do you remember the song? Because I remember as soon as the song started, I was like, I felt like emotional, but I think it was a really beautiful tribute, and because to me it was like, I think it was supposed to be like Heaven's Gate or something, and there was like clouds, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is really intense. So I think it was very, very emotional, and I think it was definitely one of my favorites of the week, just because of the theme and everything about it. I really liked it. And so next we have Lori and Val, who last week got the first perfect score of the season, and they did a jazz routine to Michael Jackson's show.
So for me, like I just said, I love jazz, and this dance is the reason why I love jazz. It was everything that is amazing about jazz. Like, there was just nothing wrong with this dance at all. This dance showed that you can showcase your one individual celebrity and still have a crew behind her, and everybody will just focus on the celebrity. Lori is amazing. She nailed this dance. I was floored by it, in love.
I thought the dance was cool, but it wasn't my favorite.
Brilliant. Anyways, I loved the dance. Like Charlotte said, it was really easy to focus on her because usually when there's so many dancers like that, the dancer kind of gets lost, and that was not the case at all with Lori. I think she looked professional. I think it looked like a professional show. So I loved it, and I completely agree with her perfect score. So yeah, I definitely loved that. And this week they did a Paso Doble. And her most memorable year was 2016 when she was in the Olympics. And it was also a very emotional package, I feel like. So, what were our thoughts?
Yeah, her package was like, a really, really emotional, showing of how a lot of people, they just see you on the Olympic stage, but they don't see what it took to get you to the Olympic stage. And that's kind of what her package was about, all this stuff that she went through to get to there. And she dances to Katy Perry's Rise during this song. And the whole entire dance is amazing. Like, at first she's by herself in what appears to be like a box, and it's just really well done. I did see some missteps, though, in the middle of the performance, which is something that she got highly critiqued on, especially coming off a perfect score.
Yeah.
But I definitely feel like it was more stripped down and a lot less like Lori's, upbeat, happy-go-lucky personality. And you kind of saw her struggle personally with Val this week. Just kind of being, emotional and not really expressing, her anger, but only expressing the happy side. So it was kind of interesting to see that dynamic as well.
I loved Lori and Val. I thought their dance was absolutely beautiful, and I loved the song. Obviously, it was our song of the week. Definitely a big fan.
Yeah, I agree. This is actually what I wanted to see from Ryan. I think hers really showed like the victory that she felt with the Olympics, which I loved. The song was great. I think it definitely. I don't think it was as good as their routine last week, which of course is hard to kind of follow up on. You can't have perfect scores every week. But I mean, I think they did do well, and she's definitely a contender. I think she's going to go all the way for sure. So I'm not really worried at all about her, to be honest. So finally, we have James and Sharna, and last week they did a quick step. So what did you guys think?
This dance was full on, all out, quick step. For me, is one of those dances that every time I see it, I'm like, that must be really hard to do. Because it is so fast. The pace is so fast, and you don't really even realize how fast it is until you're actually doing it. But he kept up with it. He kept up with the footwork. Everything was fast-paced. The choreography was intense, and he held it through the entire dance, and I was really blown away by that. He actually even got a 10, I believe, from somebody.
I didn't like anything about their dance.
The critic!
This girl didn't like anything about anybody's dance.
Let's be real. Alright then. Well, actually, okay, so I love James, but I actually was a little bit disappointed with his dance last week. The dance itself was not bad. I think he did well, but I didn't really like the theme that much. I don't know, there was just something about it that I didn't personally like. However, this week, he did a tango to, and his most memorable year was 2015, which is when he had the really bad crash and almost died, basically.
Yeah, listening to that story of like how he got like literally punctured and it came in like one side of him and came out the other. That was like really terrifying to even like think about, like try and wrap your mind around.
Yeah.
But for me, this dance was amazing. The beat was really fast again, and James kept up with it the entire time. The character of the dance was evident from start to finish, and he nailed every step. So I really liked it for me.
The song.
was my favorite.
Something she likes.
And the dance was amazing, but in my notes, I mostly commented on the song. So, good song choice.
It was a great song. Yeah. I mean, I thought it was really great. I think he had great energy, and I think he's a real contender, and I was noticing, like, the little foot pops that he had and, like, all these little flares that he was trying to do to make it, like, really perfect. And I think his story is amazing. Like, in the package, you hear the doctor talking about how the chance of survival with this kind of injury is 0. And so for him to, and that was just last year, and for him to go through all of that, physical therapy and everything, and then be a top contender this season, is, I think, really amazing to see. So we hope that you guys enjoyed our critiques of these past 2 weeks. We apologize for not being able to bring you last week's critiques last week. But be sure to join us not next week, but the following week to see our critiques on those 2 weeks of Dancing with the Stars. And we will, of course, link the website below where you can watch, or, of course, the YouTube channel where you can watch as well. And be sure to come back and join us to see our thoughts in 2 weeks.
This week's Song of the Week is Beautiful People by Sia featuring Rihanna, which was recently leaked on YouTube 2 weeks ago. The song was said to have been written by Sia for Rihanna after writing her smash hit Diamonds, but the song was never finished and was eventually sold to Wiz Khalifa, who transformed the song into a softer hip-hop beat. The new song was released back in August, and some people swear that they're still able to hear Rihanna's vocals in the Wiz Khalifa's version. So, what did you guys think of Sia and Rihanna's version of Beautiful People?
So for me, I really liked the song. I'm a big fan of both Sia and Rihanna, so I really enjoyed the song. I did not know that it was by Wiz Khalifa, or some Wiz Khalifa had redone it. I did not know that when I heard it, but I really, really liked it, and I can tell where some people were mad if they're like a real diehard Rihanna fan, because it's not a Rihanna song, it's a Sia song, and it's very evident from the moment the song starts that it's a Sia song. But again, I really like it, and I really enjoyed it, and I would recommend anybody to download it.
So, I mean, I like it. I think it's a really fun, upbeat kind of beat and song. I'm not the biggest Rihanna fan, but I feel like their voices are very similar, so it's honestly kind of hard to tell in some places. And some people actually say that because the song was never finished, Rihanna's voice actually isn't in it that much. I don't know if that's true or not. I can't really tell. But I do like the song, and I think the story is kind of interesting because there's debate on whether it's David Guetta and Sia's song, or Wiz Khalifa and Sia's song, or Rihanna and Sia's song. But I do like this version, but I actually listened to the Wiz Khalifa version, and I kind of like it a little bit better. So, I mean, we're going to link both of them so you guys can listen to them, but unfortunately it's not, like, available on iTunes or anything, but it is available on YouTube. So yeah, I would recommend listening to it because it's a really nice, upbeat dance kind of song.
So I Googled 2016 new songs, and I found this one, I listened to it, and it had me dancing. I was doing my hair, and I have like a burn on the side of my neck now because I was curling my hair when I was listening to it. And I was just breaking down, like, doing moves I didn't even think was possible. So it is an upbeat, dancey song. I burnt myself being distracted by it. I've loved Rihanna. I love her style of music, but I've recently really have been drawn to Sia. So when I just saw the title, I was like, okay, I gotta listen to this, and the second I sent it to both of them, I was like, hold on, I need to be right back. I'm listening to this. But yeah, I think it's really well done. I'm definitely a fan of it. It's not something I would listen to every day, but if I really want to, like, just let loose and dance, like, there's one by Selena that I can just do the same thing with this song, but set song. So as Emily said, the song isn't available on iTunes yet for download, but we'll link both versions down below.
Okay guys, that's our show. We hope you enjoyed this installment of Through the Screen. If you did, be sure to like down below and also subscribe to the channel. We also appreciate any feedback you may have. We post new videos every week, and we'd love for you all to join us and tell your friends. Next week, unfortunately, our schedules will be conflicting, so we will not be able to bring you a new episode. However, we will bring you Taiji updates as well as our thoughts on Dancing with the Stars for next week's episode the following week, so be sure to join us then. Until then, thanks for watching, stay informed, and we'll see you next time. Bye!